All right, my friends, so in this video, we're going to be going through the hybrid design method using AI. This is going to supercharge you as a one-person design team and allow you to actually use your skills and your craft and your taste to design anything you want and bring it into code immediately. And this workflow works both ways. It works from design in Figma, so any design you want can be pulled into code pretty much instantaneously. And then any design you've created inside of AI, in Claude Code, in Codex, doesn't matter, can be ported directly into Figma, so you can make changes, your clients can make changes, and you can tweak and collaborate using your hands without having to speak to AI, which is a huge unlock from a speed perspective. And this is why I say designers who use AI will outcompete everyone else. So my friend, let's get into it. All right, so what I've done is I've just mocked up a bunch of different designs and just been playing around, to be honest, and it's been really, really nice and refreshing to just go in and start creating some nice editorial designs, just playing around with a bunch of different styles, a few different colors, etc., a few image styles. Now, what I want to do is just show you how you can still design, my friends, as a human and enjoy the process, put your music in and vibe with it, and essentially get beautiful designs like this that you've created, you've crafted directly into code. Okay, so when I was working at a creative agency as a front-end designer, I would design in Photoshop, and then I would pass over through a very laborious process of coming up with like text styles, image styles, package it up directly for someone who would code the back end, right? And that would take weeks, if not months, especially if we were doing a complex site. What we're doing now in 2026 is we're using Figma just to mock up some beautiful designs, and then we're going to pass these over and they're going to be coded by Claude Code, very, very quickly. So really the purpose of this workflow is to show you that, my friends, designers are more important now than ever before. Because if you really do want to have flexibility in your workflow, if you want to design and mock up things, if you have a vision for what you're trying to create, it's a lot quicker actually mocking it up in Figma and then bringing it into Claude Code rather than the other way around. So that's the workflow I'm going to be showing you right now. And I'm also going to show you something that I've really found useful, which is this image generation process. So all of these images that you can see right now are created, apart from this one of me, are created in Midjourney. All right. Now, Midjourney is a fantastic image generation tool, and they've just released V8. All right, which, I mean, I've just been blown away. I mean, look at these beautiful editorial images, okay? So once you have images like this, you really can start to do anything. So that's the workflow I'm going to show you right now, and we're going to be designing a mock-up section based on a fictional story, and we're going to generate the images one by one. All right, so let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing that I did was I basically gave Claude a brief to generate a bunch of image prompts for me, okay? And I've also got a bunch of dummy copy here. Now, the page that we're going to be designing is essentially a bit of like a travel editorial piece. All right, so it's completely conceptual, but I've got all of the copy here that I'm going to be using. And I've also got my prompts. All right, so I'm going to take these prompts one by one and I'm going to drop them into Midjourney. And I'm just going to go for landscape, slightly more narrow format. And I've got version 8.2 there. Now, the cool thing about Midjourney, guys, I mean, the image generation is almost instantaneous, which is just wonderful. But you can see we've got this nice, like, editorial vibe, kind of like I've been traveling through these villages in Indonesia and taking these photos on my own. I mean, just wonderful, isn't it? So let's go through these and start genning the images. Okay, so you can see we've got our images done, and that, I mean, that literally, like, real time. I haven't sped this up or anything, but in seconds, we've got these beautiful travel photos. Okay, so it looks like, we've been on a trip to Indonesia on a beautiful journey. And so we're going to bake these into our website design now. I mean, how cool is that? Like, what? Guys, Midjourney cooks, man. Is that me? All right, Midjourney cooks, honestly. So that's awesome. All right, so we've now got our images. And so now let's get into some design. We've also got our copy. All right, so I'm going to go over to Figma and I'm just going to duplicate one of these spreads and we'll just go over here. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is literally just start designing. Okay, so we've got a blank page and I'm just going to like let my hands kind of loose with this one. Okay, so I'm going to just download all of my favorite images. All right, we've got all of our images over here. And I'm just going to park them on the side. Okay, So images are now generated. Now what we want to do is just start playing around with some typography here. Okay, so I think we're going to go for like a bit of a black background and just grab our text tool and just start vibing. Okay, so what we need to do now is really just choose a font, okay? Because one thing that AI kind of sucks at, now Codex and Claude have started to get a little bit better at this, but it really sucks at choosing nice typography. So you can see here with this one, I've got my brand's typography. I've got this this font over here, which is really nice. And this is really why I've started to enjoy this Figma workflow, is that I can specifically choose whatever font I want. And the font honestly makes a huge difference in creating stuff that doesn't feel like AI slop. Okay, because that to me, is really a taste issue. So what I like to do is go over to Google Fonts, because Google Fonts has literally all of the typefaces you have accessible inside of Figma and also inside of your AI tools already. Okay, so what we want to do now is just choose a font that we like. So I think for what I'm going to do here is I want a nice serif font for the headlines, and I want a sans serif font for the body copy. Because you can see this one here, Playfair. Honestly, this is what AI really defaults to all of the time. So honestly, doing this, like literally, gives you a huge advantage, to be honest. Okay, Noto Serif, that's Japanese. And this is quite nice, isn't it? So source serif 4. So we're just going to go into Figma and we're going to go source serif 4. And then this is obviously our subcopy, which we don't want there. But anyway, let's just go ahead and do some typesetting. Drop that in there. All right, and then for this subcopy, it'd be nice to have a sans serif font. Okay, fig tree looks kind of cool. So let's just go here and go fig tree. All right, so we're starting to come together. Now, I think what would be nice, just to make this feel really editorial, is just go for some form of a yellow color over here. Almost like a muted yellow, like a pastel-y yellow could be quite nice. Okay, and we just give this a bit more breathing room. Now we can just start placing our images here. All right, guys, so you can see here we've got our mockup is complete. And look, it's still rough, but you can see that we've just played around with some different components, some different layouts. Yes, the spacing is not perfect, but again, that's kind of what I'm going to get AI to sort out. But you can see that you can just start to vibe out your layout like really, really quickly. And, it's a fun process, okay? Because if you've got an idea and you want to bring it to life, sometimes just getting your hands dirty is a quicker way of actually prompting, if you will. Now, obviously that requires the skill of being a designer. But again, this is just really a video to show you that designers are incredibly well placed to use AI, okay? So if I just get out of this for a sec, but we now can move this over into actual code, all right? So in order now to take this design from Figma into code, you need to have a subscription for Figma, I believe. And you need to have Figma's MCP connected to Claude Code. Now, I'm not going to tell you how to do that, my friends, because you can just ask AI. But essentially, you can see here in our connectors on Claude, we've essentially got Figma connected. All right, so that means all I need to do now is go right-click, copy link to selection, go over to Claude Code. Please take this design from Figma and rebuild it in Claude Code. Please make sure it's mobile responsive and you are staying as true to the Figma design board as you possibly can. All right, so let's just wait for that to work and we'll check back in just a sec. All right, guys, so you can see our design is locked and loaded and it's replicated it pretty much pixel perfect, okay? So what I can do now is just test mobile real quick. All right, so mobile works, stack the images, albeit the spacing is a little bit tight, but you can see that it's done the job. All right, so really cool. And that's the workflow, my friends. Okay, so you can see how we've just replicated the design and we ain't even had breakfast yet. So what I'm going to do now is show you the other way, the other route down. Okay. So this is a live page on my website right now for an event that we have coming up. And I designed most of this inside of Claude Code. All right. So you can see that all of the copy is in, the layout is done. I'm really happy with it. But what I need to do is actually send this to someone to make some copy changes and to tweak and to adjust. And so the way I'm going to do that is now send this to Figma and give him access to my Figma, and he can go in and make copy changes super easily and visually. All right. So this is to show you how the other route from code to design works. All right. What I want you to do is set this up in a new Figma project, please, so we can edit the text directly inside of Figma. I only want you to port the desktop design over to Figma, but just create a new page and keep it true to the design that we have now, please. Okay, guys, so with this design, like, it's a lot of copy. Okay, so we've got a long scroll here. So there's loads and loads of different sections. So, I mean, this is a big ask. Okay, so I'm really curious to see how this comes through. But, you know, what I've found specifically with this code to Figma workflow is one of the big questions, or the things that people complain about to me about AI design, is that it's not editable by clients. And it's very hard to make quick tweaks and changes, especially when you have a page as long and as complex as this. All right. So really, this is actually putting Claude Code to the test. And this is a harder flow. Going from code to Figma is harder, but going from Figma to code is easier. You know, just because that's actually how, you know, processes have worked in design and agencies forever. You go from design to code, and then usually once it's in code, the coding guys are making those changes. And if you want new designs, you make the designs and you send them back to the coder and he hand codes them. That's how we did it when I was a web designer at an agency. So asking code to go back and rebuild this in Figma is not that intuitive. All right. So I'm expecting there to be loads and loads of mistakes, but that's okay, because really what we're trying to do here is I'm trying to give this to my mentor, who I'm collaborating on this event with, so he can go in and make changes. You know, he's in his 70s. He's not going to log into flipping GitHub and ask AI to make the changes. He needs to basically be able to work with the text directly. So let's see how this turns out. I mean, it's taken already quite a while, and there are some issues with it not being able to match like my TXC Pearl font and this font. But anyway, let's see what it comes back with. All right, guys, so apparently that's done now. It's given me some caveats around the font situation, so I'm going to have to change that manually in Figma, and then let's go ahead and just see it, shall we? Okay, guys, so you can see our page has been ported, and obviously the fonts are not correct, but I mean, it's done a bit of a job, my friends. So let's just go ahead first and foremost and just change these fonts. So it's actually created text styles for me to make it really easy. So TXC Pearl, and now we're locked and loaded. Okay, same here. And it's actually given me notes. Okay, guys, so you can see now, like, I'm literally just going through and just making a couple of changes here. All right, but you can see, guys, the majority of our page has literally just been rebuilt inside of Figma, and everything is now editable. Okay, now, while it's not perfect, that doesn't really matter too much, because all we want to do is just some copy changes. And then all I can say is once those copy changes are done, is I'll just tell Claude to pick those up and just to keep our original design that we have inside of Claude Code, okay? But it's created a super long scroll page, replication, design, padding, everything looks pretty great. But yeah, that's how it works, guys. That's the second part of the flow, and how you go from AI design directly to Figma. So you can make changes. All right. So very good for team collaboration, very good for making quick changes, especially if you do want to just redesign things. But most specifically, I found it useful for like actually giving direct copy editing abilities. Just change that then. Okay. So that's it, my friends. Like I said earlier, you know, what I've really found to be fun is just getting back into crafting things by hand. And this is specifically useful when you have real paying clients as a design agency. If you're designing custom sites for clients, you got to get a developer, you got to spend time in production. That is literally not the way anymore. All right. You as a designer can literally design anything you want and build anything you want. Just don't forget, my friend, that craft is cool. In the age of AI, when all websites look and sound the same, your ability to actually say, hang on, I spot a little bit of inspiration there. Maybe it's a magazine I like, or a newspaper I like, or a zine I like, or a poster I like. Redesign it, then bring it back into Claude Code. Because like I said before, designers and creatives who do the work will outcompete everyone else. And this is a really neat workflow for you to speed up your production, but also to keep your handmade craft intact in the age of AI, and ultimately do things that the majority of the population cannot do because they don't have the taste that you do, my friend. All right, so if you enjoyed this video, if you have any questions about what you'd like to see next, drop a comment below, and I'll see you on the next one. Much love.